Hey, so sometimes we feel super motivated, sometimes we feel less motivated, and sometimes we lose our motivation altogether. So, in today's lesson, we are talking about some ways that you can stay motivated with your English or get your motivation back if you feel like you have lost it a little bit. So, let's get started. So the first thing you can do is to use content that motivates you or inspires you, to use authentic English materials or authentic English content that you already find inspirational or motivational. This is especially easy to do when you are practicing your reading or your listening skills in English. There's lots and lots and lots of resources available online. So I'll give you an example. I personally find Tony Robbins to be very motivational and very inspirational. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is, he is a life coach, a philanthropist, an author, a businessman, a professional speaker. He does lots and lots and lots of different things, and I really like him. So if I were you, if I were an English learner studying English, I could watch his YouTube videos to practice listening. I could listen to his podcast to practice listening. I could read his books to practice reading and vocabulary and so on, okay? And the benefit of using content that motivates you is that when you are inspired and when you are excited, it doesn't feel like you are studying, all right? Instead, you just feel like you are getting motivated by someone instead of practicing your English, all right? So there are lots of authentic English materials available online, and you could choose content from anyone. So Tony Robbins is just an example, a personal example, but you can find a motivational speaker, you can find a business person, you can find a professional in your industry, a teacher online, a blogger, a YouTuber, absolutely anyone who you find to be motivational or inspiring. And when you listen to them or when you read what they have written, you get a chance to practice some authentic English without feeling like you are studying or working too hard and getting bored and distracted. Okay, the next thing that you can do is to get rid of distractions when you are actually reviewing something that you have learned in English. So if you study English online, let's say here on YouTube, or you learn English on other social media platforms, it can be super easy to get very distracted online. You are looking at suggested videos and images, and it's really easy to scroll and just totally lose track of what you're doing. So here's what I recommend to get rid of distractions. Whenever you learn something new and useful in English online, as soon as you are done watching the lesson or reading about it or whatever you have done, set a timer for yourself and set aside some time to be laser focused or super focused on reviewing whatever you have just learned because it's important and you want to remember it, okay? So for example, imagine that you watch one of my lessons here on YouTube and you say, you know what, that was a good lesson. It was very helpful. I learned some new things. I learned some new vocabulary or some new tips or some new strategies or whatever, or grammar, whatever the case may be. And you think, you know what, that was a good lesson. I don't want to forget what I have learned. Right after the lesson, because the lessons are short, you need to set a timer for, I would suggest 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, and use this time to make some notes or to summarize whatever you have learned, okay? You are then reinforcing the information into your mind, because a lot of times when we see things online or hear things online, they kind of go in one ear and out the other, right? We think, oh, that's interesting, and then we totally forget about it. Or we save an Instagram post for later and then we totally forget about it. Or we save a YouTube video for later and we forget about it, right? So instead of wasting the time here to just watch something and forget about it. As soon as you're done, set a timer and do not let yourself get distracted by anything. Silence your phone, sit in a quiet, relaxing place where you can focus and make some notes on whatever you have learned or summarize whatever you have learned, okay? And if you start to develop this habit of setting a time where you are not distracted by anything, this is a much more efficient and effective way of studying instead of studying for 2 or 3 hours but getting distracted every 5 minutes. Okay, it's better to study for a shorter time or to review or revise, but be laser focused for a shorter time. It's a better use of your time and you will retain more of the information. All right, so that is what I recommend. Give it a try today with this lesson or any of my other lessons. I have some grammar lessons, vocabulary lessons, business English lessons. Choose one that you like, or it can be this one. Right after this, sit down, set a timer for 30 to 40 minutes, make some notes, write down some new vocabulary, summarize the points you have learned, and reinforce the English that you have just spent time learning. Okay, so the next thing is to stop studying all the time and instead find ways to integrate the English language and use the English language in your everyday life and make English a pleasure instead of an obligation. Okay, so make it enjoyable instead of something that you have to do but you don't really want to do. All right, so for example, you can sit down with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a glass of wine, whatever you like, and read your favorite magazine or your favorite blog or listen to an audiobook in English. You can listen to music in English and read the lyrics, but just sit down in an environment that is relaxing to you. And it's not that you need to sit down with a textbook and necessarily study. A lot of times when we feel like I have to improve my English, I have to do this, it ends up becoming an obligation instead of a pleasure. Okay, so just find ways to try to make the process of using the language more enjoyable. So you can also join a class that is conducted in English where the instructor and the other members of the class speak in English. It doesn't have to be an English language class. Instead, it can just be, for instance, an art class or a cooking class where you are interacting with other people in English, okay? You can also go to a meetup event or an internations event. If you've never heard of Meetup or Internations, these are two websites that you can visit, Meetup and Internations, and they organize events. People organize events to meet other people, to network, to socialize. There are language exchanges, and in most big cities, there are meetup events and internations events. Okay, so I'll link the websites down below. If you've never heard of these websites, you can definitely check them out. So the bottom line is just to make English more of a pleasure than an obligation and expose yourself to the language as much as possible without having to sit down and study from a textbook. Next, create a reward system. So reward systems are very effective because they keep us motivated, they keep us on track, they keep us working towards some kind of goal. And we've had reward systems throughout our life. When we were students in school, if we got good grades, usually we received some kind of recognition or prize. If we did what our parents asked, maybe they gave us candy or a toy or something we wanted. If we perform well at work, we get a promotion or a bonus or, again, some kind of recognition, right? So reward systems do keep us motivated and they give us incentive to try to reach a goal. So you can create your own reward system with your English. Whenever you reach one of your goals in English, reward yourself in some way. So you can go to a restaurant that you like, you can buy yourself something you've wanted for a long time, and you don't have to spend money. It can just be having a relaxing day at the beach, something that you enjoy, all right? So once you reach one of your goals in English, And if you have written your goals down and you're keeping track of them, you should take some time to also reward yourself. You don't have to rush on to the next thing right away. Take some time to be proud of your accomplishments and reward yourself for what you've done. And this will really help to keep you motivated and keep you on track. Okay, so the next thing is to find balance. Balance is very, very important. Sometimes when we are working towards something like improving our English, we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves, all right? I've had a lot of students who have been preparing for a job interview or preparing for an IELTS exam, and they can put a lot of pressure on themselves. They're very eager to study and they ask for extra homework. They want to study every day, but unfortunately, this is not really manageable with their schedule. So I know that their intention is good and their idea is good, but sometimes if we push ourselves too hard towards our goals, it can actually backfire and have the opposite effect, and we end up getting burnt out. So if you experience burnout, it just means you're super, super tired, right? So if you are working on improving your English, create a realistic study schedule for yourself, okay? And do not overdo it. In reality, there is no deadline or timeline for improving your English as an adult. You can take as long as you need to take, all right? We're not in school anymore. You don't have to reach this level by this date and get this mark. This is just not the reality. So when you are planning your study schedule for your English, make sure that you plan rest periods and days off into your schedule. You do not need to study every single day of your life. Nothing will happen if you feel tired and you take a rest. Absolutely nothing will happen. So make sure that you approach learning English in a balanced way. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, okay? So if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have a job, make sure you consider these things when you are planning on taking a course or taking classes or planning on studying on your own. Just make sure you take your life into account and make sure you find some balance. So the next thing is to identify why you are not motivated. There's lots of reasons why we lack motivation or lose motivation. Sometimes it's because we don't feel confident or we doubt ourselves. Sometimes it's because we cannot see any progress. We don't know if we're improving. Sometimes it's because we are disorganized and we cannot stick to a schedule. There's lots and lots of different reasons why we lose motivation. Sometimes we're just really tired or we're burnt out, okay? But the good news is that when you identify why you feel unmotivated, you can then take steps to research a solution, okay? So for example, imagine you realize, okay, I'm not motivated because I am not reaching my goals. My goal is to pass an English exam and I've tried and I haven't done it and now I feel discouraged. Okay, in that case, you can start to do some research on how to prepare for this exam the right way. You can start to create a study schedule for yourself. There are always solutions, okay? Imagine that you are lacking motivation because you do not see progress and you don't know if you're really improving. In that case, you can start to research, how can I track my progress in English? Okay, so Google is amazing. If you can identify what is causing your lack of motivation, you can search for a solution online. If it is because you're disorganized, you can literally search for how to manage your time better, how to stay focused when you are studying. There's always, always, always a solution, all right? So the first thing you have to do is, of course, identify what is causing your lack of motivation, and then just do some quick research online as to how to fix that problem. And finally, remind yourself why you started studying English in the first place. If you have been studying English or working on your English for a long time, it's easy to get a little off track and get a little lost and sometimes feel a little bit stuck. And if this happens to you, just pause, take a little break and ask yourself, okay, Why did I start studying English in the first place? Was it to get a job? Was it to move overseas? Was it to become more confident? Was it to meet new people? Was it to go to university? Was it just because you love the language and you love English? Whatever your reason for studying English, this is your motivation. And sometimes you need to remind yourself of that. And whatever your reason is, make sure that what you are studying and how you are studying are aligned with that reason. Okay, so for example, if you are studying English because you want to attend a university program in English, make sure that you're using academic materials and you're studying things that will actually help you in your program. Okay, if you are studying English because you want to meet new people, make sure that you are taking every opportunity to socialize and you are learning techniques to communicate naturally and confidently, all right? So always remind yourself why you're learning English in the first place. And sometimes it's okay to stop and take one little step back in order to move forward and to make progress. Sometimes that is necessary to stop and recenter and refocus and just remind yourself what was your motivation for learning this language in the first place. So there you have it, 7 tips to stay motivated with your English or to get your motivation back if you have lost it. As well, make sure you grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. Now, this ebook is designed to help you level up your English conversation skills and communicate naturally and confidently when you are talking to people. So get your copy by clicking the link just below this video. As always, thank you so much for watching and for learning with me, and I will see you very soon in the next lesson.